Honourable Chairperson, the Department of Trade and Industry has got enormous regulatory and policy-making power. This power places it, along with the Treasury, at the apex of economic management in South Africa. Its mandate is simple: increase value-added exports, increase foreign investment, create a policy environment for economic growth and real job creation, and break down the barriers that keep poor, mainly black South Africans locked out of the economy. Now, they've done an incredible effort to try and put a positive spin on it today, but unfortunately the facts just don't sustain the fiction. Let's look at some of the facts, Honourable Minister. 74% decline in foreign direct investment last year alone. Manufacturing production flatlining. Business confidence at 36, the lowest point since 2010. You spoke about re-engineering the CIPC, and yet we've dropped another 4 spots in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business rankings. And listen to this, Minister Davies, we are now a full 41 places lower than the day that you came into office. How's that for a good story? 193 companies went bankrupt just in February 2016. The GDP growth rate less than 0.6%, and on a per capita basis negative. And 8.2 million unemployed people, growing by 800 people a day. On every single criteria that this department should be measured, this minister and his department is failing. In fact, the only indicator that is in the green is the trade balance, and that's mainly because the rand has never been at these lows after President Zuma dropped the equivalent of a nuclear bomb on our economy in December. The South African economy is less competitive, less attractive to foreign investment, and more people are unemployed. It's easy to focus only on the seemingly endless supply of corruption scandals that this government and President Zuma offer up. But often the link between the two is lost, because the truth is this: the most scandalous thing that this government has done has not been Nkandla or the Guptas, it's been the complete mismanagement of our economy. That is why we always say that corruption is not just an issue of the President's personal conduct. Corruption saps resources and makes poor South Africans even poorer. And the place where poor black South Africans are getting the worst treatment is in this minister's handling of black economic empowerment. The Democratic Alliance will always support truly broad-based empowerment that actually empowers black people and helps to break down the barriers that keep them locked out of the formal economy. But we will always reject crony enrichment and patronage schemes aimed at making a tiny group of well-connected people extraordinarily wealthy, while the majority of black South Africans continue to live in abject poverty. In a series of new regulations and codes issued by this minister, it is quite clear that the ANC government has no intention whatsoever of empowering ordinary black people, and it never had any intention of doing so. BEE under the ANC is becoming increasingly punitive, increasingly narrow, and increasingly manipulates outcomes instead of dealing with the real obstacles that black people face in our economy. It is starting to resemble increasingly Malaysia's narrow 51% indigenization policy, where every entrepreneur must simply hand over 51% or close its doors. That is not value-adding empowerment. Down that road lies only ruin. But like the classic con artist's confidence trick, the minister thought that by simply calling it broad-based empowerment, everyone would think it was actually broad-based. The truth is that the only lives that matter to this government are the luxury lives of a tiny coterie of billionaires that is ever more closely tied to the president and his family. The newly minted Black Industrialist program lauded by the minister today is the case study of the ANC's con trick of broad-based empowerment. 100 well-connected cronies each get hundreds of millions of rands in public money and soft loans from public companies with no job creation targets attached and no export targets of any sort attached. We don't need to look far to see what this program means in reality. Duduzane Zuma's stake in Optimum Coal and Tegeta Resources is no doubt an example of a successful industrialist under this program. Goldfield has said publicly it was given a list of people that it should empower, including the chairperson of the ANC and the Speaker of this House. The Guptas showed an interest in purchasing ArcelorMittal. They were given protection by this government in doing so, while Highveld Steel was thrown to the wolves. This is not empowerment. This is not empowerment, it's corruption. It's nothing less than corruption. Real empowerment gives black South Africans a stake in the economy, and it removes the impediments to entrepreneurship. It is not supposed to be a stranglehold on economic growth, and it is not supposed to benefit a tiny few at the expense of the poor. One very sad consequence of the ANC's con trick is that it's increasingly difficult to maintain a national consensus around the principle of empowerment. It's tough to make an argument to the business community for a model that is nothing more than legalized corruption. More and more businesses are simply checking out. The one positive consequence is this: everyone is seeing right through the ANC. The con trick is up. They see the ANC funneling millions, the ANC in government funneling millions of government and public money to the ANC in business, so that a few tiny, well-connected ANC elites, usually with the surname Zuma, can get really wealthy. The con trick is up. The actions of this ANC caucus 2 weeks ago in defending President Zuma confirmed it for all to see. President Zuma is the ANC, and the ANC is President Zuma. You are one and the same thing. And the public are rejecting it outright. They're rejecting it. You may have tin ears, I hear you all shouting, but you only need to look at what happened in Port Elizabeth on Saturday. You can't even fill up a stadium. You must know this. You might not be listening, but the public is listening to us, and on the 3rd of August, they're going to toss you out of office.